Hey everyone, welcome to Shark Week at Half As Interesting. This year, we got rid of all the sharks. That's because I have something even scarier. It's an index card that says, the ocean is getting a little less salty. Why isn't everyone screaming? Is that not scary enough? Well, what if I told you it might kill thousands of people in Europe? Okay, what if I told you it might kill thousands of people in Western? See, it is scary, and it all has to do with the collapse of everyone's favorite Gulf-based stream, the Gulf Stream. Now, before you go get performative depression about the Gulf Stream collapsing to impress your latest Tinder match, I should probably explain what the Gulf Stream actually is. Basically, it's a major ocean current, one of many continuous streams of seawater that keep our oceans moving and interconnected, sort of like our proud American railway system, except faster, more reliable, and somehow filled with fewer dead fish. The Gulf Stream specifically is the current that extends from the tip of Florida across the Atlantic Ocean and splits up around the UK and Northern Europe. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, boy, I'm sure glad I didn't bring this up on Tinder. This doesn't sound titillating at all. You're the worst pickup artist channel I've ever watched. But here's the deal. You're wrong. The Gulf Stream is titillating in much the same way that Al Gore is titillating because it has a massive impact on the way that our climate works. You see, the Gulf Stream transports ocean water at an insane rate of between 30 and 150 Sverdrups. That's a flow unit based on, from how I understand it, how fast oceanographer Harald Sverdrup could chug ocean water, which famously was 1 million cubic meters per second. To put that into perspective, the combined force of every single river that connects to the Atlantic Ocean only totals about 0.6 Sverdrups. But crucially, this huge stream of water originates near the equator, making it some of the warmest water in the Atlantic Ocean. The northward flow of all that warm water, and therefore warm air, accounts for about 20% of all heat on Earth, and that plays a major role in Europe's not totally frozen climate. That's why you always hear that classic British small talk about the weather. Little quips like, warm, innit? And I see that unfeeling ocean currents have continued to spare us from eternal winter. Mate. But here's the problem. That might not last for long. You see, the Gulf Stream is weaker than it's been in more than 1,600 years, and new research from earlier this year show that it could be nearing a complete collapse. So why is that happening? Well, the short answer is climate change. Or if you don't believe in climate change, the answer is that God is punishing you for not believing in climate change. But the long answer requires a little explanation of why the Gulf Stream exists in the first place. Basically, it's caused by two main forces. The first is wind. The northeast trade winds to the south and the westerlies to the north, which when you say it out loud is kind of a headache, work in tandem to create a gyre in the Atlantic Ocean that circulates water clockwise. The other force, however, and this is the part of the video where you should start paying attention, has to do with salinity. As the Gulf Stream crosses the Atlantic, the warm water cools down and evaporates, making it saltier and therefore denser. This salty, dense water is more likely to sink towards the bottom of the ocean. You can test this out at home by sprinkling a little table salt on a lead weight and dropping it into your toilet. It should magically sink to the bottom. By the time the Gulf Stream reaches the North Atlantic, it too sinks to the bottom and gets caught up in deep sea currents that circulate it back southward. This creates a continuous force that pulls the Gulf Stream in circles like a conveyor belt. But now that conveyor belt is facing a problem. To really boil it down, basically, a handful of stock photo business guys pulled too much dinosaur goo out of the ground and now Greenland is melting into the ocean. These ice caps are made of fresh water, not salt water, so the runoff is diluting the entire North Atlantic, making it less salty and dense. This has dramatically slowed the Gulf Stream conveyor belt and might eventually stop it entirely. Now, that raises a few questions. When is that going to happen? What's it going to do? Am I going to die? Is it a good idea to turn this into an environmental thriller starring Dennis Quaid? Is Dennis Quaid going to die? These are all good questions, but only the last two have definitive answers, and both are no. As for the first three, it's a little up in the air. If the Gulf Stream is going to collapse, climate scientists believe it could happen in as soon as a decade, but it might take up to a few hundred years for the current to come to a complete stop. The effects would also be difficult to predict and are highly disputed, but here are some theories. Europe would likely get much colder, dropping up to 10 degrees Celsius or 18 degrees Fahrenheit, with severe winters and considerably harsher weather. India, West Africa, and much of South America would likely experience increased droughts due to a disruption of monsoon patterns, and agriculture in those regions would suffer immensely. The buildup of water masses along the east coast of North America would also likely lead to flooding and devastating hurricanes in much of the US. In short, it could get really bad. But as for the question of whether you're going to die, here's the good news. Either way, death is inescapable. But you know what is escapable? Bad time-wasting habits. If you're anything like me, and if you're watching these videos you probably are, it's very easy to get sucked up into an endless wormhole of scrolling through social media every morning just to keep up with current events. That's why I switched to Morning Brew. Morning Brew is a free daily newsletter that arrives in your email inbox each morning and gets you up to speed on news from around the world, broken up into witty, bite-sized pieces. Instead of reading long, dense articles or scraping the internet for the latest story, it only takes me 5 minutes to get informed and start with my day. Like, take this Morning Brew article on the US's eviction moratorium. It gets straight to the point and tells me what I need to know without wasting any of my time. So, if you want to unshackle yourself from the dreaded wake-up scroll and make yourself better informed about what's happening in the world, Morning Brew is completely free and only takes 15 seconds to sign up for by clicking the button on screen or heading to the link in the description.